The Delta Network, powered by Delta Waterfowl.
Mom, I want to listen to the voice of the duck hunter.
But basically, he said after interviewing some of the club owners that the sentiment was that the birds were getting so few and far between that they felt that they had to bait to get birds in. Um, the one of the other sentiment was, and one of the things I read that was interesting to me was one of the land or club owners referred to them as my birds. So you can see that sentiment of, hey, these are my birds in this area, and they would feed them and bring them in. And many of the club owners and many of the hunters basically were saying that if they didn't bait, they may not shoot their gun for 20 or 30 minutes while they're out there. And they wanted to be able to go out and get their bag limits and be back at the club in 2 hours. And he went back and referenced baiting really started as a habit in the 20s. Was his first time that he started as his finding bait, I guess, if you will, being out there. It was not real prevalent up and down the East Coast as you would think. The primary hotspots were Virginia and Maryland, and they had all the clubs and the duck clubs back then, and so they were really the force. Maryland was one of the biggest drivers of putting bait out, and we're talking hundreds of tons of bait in a season. And Clarence Cotton had the foresight to look at it and say, this is the ground zero, if you will, of baiting, and it's slowly spreading. Like he could see where it was starting to spread into some of the New England states. Like I think he documented one or two places in Maine that were baiting, and one of the places when he talked to the landowner, he said, "Oh yeah, I had talked to one of the club owners down in Maryland or Virginia, and he recommended me doing this." So you could see how the word and the vibe was getting out that baiting was, and the number of birds that he saw shot over bait. Obviously, it's a huge lure. He was like, "There's no way that to be able to sustain it." So I say that as a premise, saying that the baiting regulations then went into effect in 1935, and I think Cotton's report was a big premise for the Fish and Wildlife Service actually making a regulation for baiting.
Mom, I want to listen to the voice of the duck hunter. Again!
You just heard it, buddy!
Please, I want to hear it again. Mom, the voice